Welcome to another Western Ag Life Voices podcast, where we celebrate the people that make up the rich fabric of the Western lifestyle. Please do us a favor and thank the sponsors, because without them, we couldn't bring you these free podcasts.
Well, hello, listeners. This is Paul Ramirez with the Western Ag Life podcast, and I groused up my good friend from out there in Western Iowa, Mr. Jon Schaben, and John's had a heck of a summer, and so we're going to talk a little bit about his summer and some of the things that he's experienced this summer, and I think a lot of our listeners will certainly want to listen to it and enjoy his summer. Jon, you've had a heck of a summer.
Yeah, it's been a good one. Probably one thing, and we always talk about weather. We've when our growing season started off just sickeningly dry, and we've kind of been in about 3-year dry cycle, and so things didn't look very good. And somewhere about the second week there of June, the switch flipped. And Paul, I don't know, we've maybe in the last month, 5 weeks, 15 inches of rain, maybe.
Oh my gosh!
And all came pretty good. So for the people that don't get to see the corn crop grow, but always are very interested in it, as of today, it looks about as good as you could ever hope for. The truth of it is, if it starts, tough and dry, and they always talk about corn rooting down, now they've just been laying the water on it. It's pretty amazing looking crop right now.
Shoot, I bet you could hear that stuff kind of grow almost, huh?
You can feel it with the humidity, let me tell you.
I bet.
I know you guys have been warm down there too. It's pretty warm here the last couple of days, and then the humidity's really kicked in bad.
We've been warm here, and our monsoon hasn't started. Anyways, I don't want to get off negative, but it's not good here in Arizona for the majority of people, unfortunately.
That's for all of you guys down there.
I know. So you're super busy. I don't want to take too much of your time. I want to go over some of the things you've experienced this summer, and we might as well go ahead and start with the, hosting the World Champion Livestock Auctioneer Championship there in the very first part of June. And Tina and I and Madison, we got the pleasure of being there and attend. I got to judge the interview, and man, that was impressive. And man, you guys had a heck of a day there, and it was an opposite. I told a lot of people, the first LMA that I went to was in 2002 when you guys hosted it. And I guess things were almost opposite of 2002. What do you think, Jon?
Yeah, for sure. From the marketing standpoint, and and I said going into this one, or when it was over, Paul, I guess, the two things you never have any control over really are the market and the weather. And we were dealt the best of both. The markets were on an uphill climb. That's all you can ever hope for. The pinnacle that day, the weather was close to being perfect. And for us, first week in June, it can kind of be anything. I'd be lying if we wanted rain, but it would have been okay. The temperatures is what you always get concerned about. So the cattle are comfortable and everything. And sure. It was really good. So, and then we were blessed with a huge crowd, Paul. I mean, it was huge. And that there. It was like that all day. It was that way from the start to finish. The tent outside was packed all day. The contestants performed at their very best. And somehow, and you were part of that judging process, they had to get a couple, 3 people up to the top. And I promise you, I do think at any given day, you could have thrown a dart and hit nearly anybody in that contest, and they had a chance to be up there. So it was a great time, great markets. Our second largest numbered auction in history. And then from a dollars of commerce standpoint, the largest gross sale, of course, we've ever had. So
I can only imagine.
It was all was pretty good. I can, if there were hiccups, Paul, they're minute about them, that not one thing even jumps out, nothing. And then all the way from to the end of when you want to make sure loadout goes okay and all those kinds of things. And no, it's just, it easily makes it one of the greatest things I've ever had a chance to be a part of.
Sure. The only thing, I wouldn't call it a hiccup, but I've been to a couple contests myself, and just the bidding was voracious. I mean, so much bidding, I mean, these guys would get going and, who knows? I mean, it was incredible how much bidding, the buyers were prepared to purchase cattle.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, we're in an upward market. I had people say, "Where are you going to start them?" And I'm saying, I'm not sure where to start them. And I do know in that contest, what you don't want to do is overvalue them, right? These guys are great bid callers. They'll get from point A to point B in whatever fashion they need to. You just don't like to go. You don't like to start at B and then back up to A and then go back to B, right? So. I was pretty liberal with the runs, but there were a couple things, that was just mind boggling to me. When you start a calf that you think is sold pretty well at $3 a pound and he brings 5, that's pretty. So there were probably a couple of historic runs in this contest, but they handled them pretty well. But boy, it was an active. I mean, it was very common to have 4 to 6 people bid on every one that came in, and that's all you could ever pray for.
I remember in one clutch there, you sold some little calves there kind of by the head, and I don't know, they bring $1,700, $1,900.
Yeah, we sold them one. I think they were like 180-pound calves for $1,575 or something. And there was a day we sure could have taken 1,100 for them pretty easy. So sellers were rewarded, but you brought it up and then won't talk anymore about it. 20-some years ago, our sellers really took the brunt of a really tough market, right?
Yeah.
And that stinks when there's close to you as a lot of the sellers are in all these markets across the country. Those people you go to church with every week, and you might take a vacation with some of them or whatever.
Well, they've been generational customers, right?
Yeah. And so that was hard. This one was equally that good. They put these cattle together last fall, a lot of them. We had a customer, we sold 4 loads of heifers for him. He bought them last October, consigned them the day he bought them. He said they'll be there in June. Well, those cattle didn't do anything but just to grow into more value, and so the producers got rewarded, and I don't, like I said, I don't think we're ever deserving of anything, but you should be thankful for what it is you're given. Well, it was pretty easy to be thankful on this one.
Amen. And for the first time in a long time, we got a Canadian champion auctioneer. Matter of fact, we're 1 and 2, Dean Edge and then Brennan Jack. The Canadians they put on a little show there for us.
Paul, I obviously I don't remember everything we talked about before the contest, but if we didn't talk about the Canadians, it would be a surprise because I talked about it all the time.
Sure.
There's 3 qualifying events for the contest, and the Canadians won 2 of them, right?
Yep,
they finished
exactly.
They finished 3rd in the other, which is that's almost the same as winning, right? So to say and those 3 made the top 10, right? So the Canadians went 100% to the top 10 and 2 of the top 3. So, the ironic thing was the contest you and I love so much, the international in Calgary, was won, of course, by an American,
yes.
And that person made the top 10. So, and so it's if it was a horse race and you had betting favorites, it
wouldn't have paid very good, would it have?
That those 2 guys are a couple of your betting favorites. The young gentleman who won the other contest also finished in the top 10. So the big 3 contests to get in, plus the other qualifier, all 4 of them made the top 10. I think that spells to those individuals. I think it spells to the people who judge those contests ahead of that, and to the judges who judge this one. So compliments to you and all the judges. I think you left potentially 10 or more that could have made the top 10, right?
Sure. So, any given situation.
Absolutely. If you re-rack it tomorrow, who knows what happens? I'm guessing some of those guys probably find their way to the top again, as they've been pretty consistent, pretty good in their game.
Yeah, I think that top 3 in there, I don't care how you kind of rack them every day, they're going to be in there somewhere, 1, 2, 3. So, but that's a testimony, to say that those guys play at that caliber, just like any competitive, whether it's golf or whatever, the Michael Jordans are the Michael Jordans, and
but then as you know, next year when they start to qualifier, there's going to be 1 to 3 kids that has never been in that contest before that people are going to say, now we got to watch out for this one.
Yeah, and we saw that when we saw that for sure too.
Yep.
For sure. Hey, well, that's kind of a wrap there, John. I mean, I want to commend you. That I know most people have no idea what it is to host one of those contests. Just the labor and the effort that go in there, and the pre planning. Certainly, those things don't go off as a happenstance. I mean, they're meditated. It's a practical thing that you guys structured to have, and I want to commend you for that. I thought it was flawless. Everything, the hotel was wonderful, and of course everything at your out there at Dunlap Livestock was first class. The ring, everything was just first class, and certainly again, I want to commend you on that. I know that's a lot of effort goes into that. So
well, I appreciate it. My family obviously grew up with the contest, right? And then who now is part of my family, Will Epperly,
sure.
Will grew up with the contest. So
Mhm.
so our family, Will included in that, obviously, they know that contest and they love that contest. So work, yeah, but not really. I mean,
Yeah.
it's too much fun to
Mhm.
we derive too much pleasure out of it to say it was work. Work sounds like it's a penance, and it wasn't.
No.
It was. And the cool thing about it, when I talk about Will and I talk about the rest of the people who happen to have the same last name as I do, they I mean, it was all hands on deck, and they they loved it,
And it
and
showed.
they I expected them to do a good job, and I felt like they did. And then when I have people like you and friends that have been friends a long time tell me how much they enjoyed their time here, it's all I needed. It was awesome.
Yeah. No.
I don't expect us to do it ever again, but I've joked to people, if LMA called me tomorrow and said, "We've got trouble coming up. Can you host again next year?" I'd say, "Sure." Not, and
I
I
bet
would say it without reservation. I
I
mean,
bet you would. Yeah. And we
yep.
wouldn't want to be reminisced too, John. And I know you also, I mean, that thing, you had played a pivotal role in it, but Will in that, but also, your guys in the back and all your staff that day. I mean, it was commendable. Everybody was first class all the way around.
We, my one son that doesn't work at the livestock auction and my nephew, who's a banker in town, um, took an 8-hour stint at loadout. They were my
Mhm.
loadout guys during the and and they were tremendous. And so, and then to people, the volunteer laborers, there the guy that was shuttling people around with a Ranger out back told me, he said, "John, I put 62 miles on my Ranger and I never left your parking lot."
Mhm.
And when they come and tell you, and he was here from 6 in the morning till about 11 o'clock at night. And when that person comes up and tells you, "Thanks for letting me help,"
Yes.
you don't get any better than that.
No, that's a testimony. Yeah. I saw those Whitakers. They were going up and down that parking lot.
Classic
and
case right
and
there. Yep.
and I'm sure they have other things to do than drive customers around. But again, that goes back to the friend that you are to them, and certainly they know that if they needed something from you, it would be the same way around. So, yep, man, commendable. Yep. WLAC will 2025 will be remembered by a lot of people. Well, let's go ahead and go. So then, you had a birthday,
Yeah.
and you had a
Yeah.
little
Sure.
fundraiser.
Yeah. Sure did.
Man, let's talk about that. How did that concept come up, and what was your thought on that?
Paul, when I turned 50, and it just, I don't know, everything seemed right about it. I lost my dad to, obviously to complications with Alzheimer's. And I guess I wanted to do something. And so when I turned 50, we decided to have a fundraiser out at our farm. Auctioneer has a birthday. Why not have a fundraiser? Right. And, and we raised $250,000 for the Alzheimer's Association, 10 years ago. So when I turned 60, I just wanted to have a birthday party. And there's a band out of Omaha. They're a 70s band, plays that's, really easy, good to listen, like Eagles and stuff like that. And I just love them. And so I called them up a couple years ago, and I said, "No, I'm way ahead, but I'd really like to have you play for my birthday party." And I was just going to have a birthday party again, like out at the farm. And then when everything came together with the contest and all that, I thought, you know what? maybe get my farm ready and to have it. We've got a really nice fairgrounds in Dunlap. So I think I was just going to have my birthday party down at the fairgrounds. And then I couldn't let that all go to waste, I guess. And as my brother Jim pointed out, I won't use the words he used to describe me, but he says, what kind of person charges people to come to their birthday party? And my answer back was, well, I guess it's better than paying them to come. And so we do a little event and we charge $100 a couple, provide all you can eat and drink and a good band. And you get people there. And if they're having a good time and everything else, it makes the setting for a fundraiser. For quite a long time, I kind of wanted to start a community foundation in Dunlap, with the concept of how, at least as I see how foundations work, they become a tax advantage place to be charitable, right? So and then charitable in this case would be to the community of Dunlap. So we got the foundation in place, and not very long ago, just a few months ago, so that the foundation is chartered, for lack of a better word, but not funded, not anything else. So I elected to do a fundraiser for the Dunlap Community Foundation. The thing about it, we have a small foundation board. There's 4 of us who they were very integral in helping the process of getting this done. And as my actually, she is married to my nephew, but she's the community development director in Dunlap. She was rural development in it. And then my office manager is my daughter-in-law, Keely. But so we had this foundation fundraiser, and it had an auction with it. And it was, I didn't think, Paul, it would quite have the broad scale acceptance as our Alzheimer's did. Because, I mean, every person you touch, unfortunately, somehow has been touched by Alzheimer's, and dementia and memory loss. The Dunlap Community Foundation is kind of narrow, right? I mean, it's just going to go to benefit the community of Dunlap. So needless to say, we had 1,000 people show up at our Alzheimer's benefit. It was huge. And, but we, I think, had 600 or better, 700 show up for this one. I was amazed. You have goals, and what you thought. And I thought, if we were lucky and could sell $20,000 worth of tickets, that's 20,000. And then we could do if we do a good auction and we have a halfway decent crowd, I'm thinking we can raise 100. And I thought, we got a chance, $100,000 to $150,000 fundraiser, to get this community foundation up and going and telling everybody, hey, here it is. Well, a few things happened, and we had a donor come to us who loved everything about it and thought we should start a founders club and that way, we decided it by January 1st, if you would commit $25,000, and this is basically what this individual is saying, talking to us, to get money. So the foundation had money right away so it could get up and get going. And he came to this with this founders club. It was kind of interesting because, boy, it sounded great to us, but there was apprehension a little bit from our board. Well, what if he's the only one who does it, right? You only get one. And of course, you probably know me well enough to know how I think. I'm like, well, one's better than none.
Exactly.
And
that's what I was thinking.
let's plow ahead, right? So
Yeah.
he didn't say he was going to commit 25,000, but that's how I took it. And I think that's how everybody else did it. And he did. Steve's his name. And so we were real thankful of that. So boy, we got $25,000 go right off the bat. Interesting enough, there are my family, my folks are passed, and my family and one of my brothers brought up the fact about, maybe our family should do something for the foundation. Because the community of Dunlap, and Dunlap, you've been here enough, small community, like tons of the communities are in these livestock auction communities, right, across the United States. Sure. And there are times like in the fall when you got a bunch of bull and calves and it's kind of noisy. And, we live right on the edge of town. I mean, right on the edge. Right. And that, and we've had cattle, unfortunately, get out before, and we've had them get out on Main Street, trailer pop open. and all those kind of things. And overall,
fragrant sometimes.
Yeah, this community has been nothing but open arms to our business and our family. And so they've been awful good to us. So it was my brother Jim that pitched it to the rest of us that and obviously I was already going to be a part of the, of the fundraiser and the foundation, but my brothers, they committed $250,000 to create a match for the auction. If we could raise 250, they would kick in 250. They did that. It's not anonymous today, but it was anonymous at the time. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I came to the committee with a $250,000 donation to match the auction total, which was to tell everybody, listen, if we're not getting up and getting going, it's time to get up and get going. Right. And I think our auction did right around 325,000, Paul.
Crazy.
And then we had that match, and then we had, maybe 9 individuals step up as founder members. And it looks like when we get her all totaled up, it's going to be somewhere maybe 850,000 for the donation. And we did it in our fair building, and it's a nice fair building for a little community like ours. And we're an independent fair. It's not a county fair, but it's actually a 4-county fair, but their only money they get is what they raise. They don't get any outside money, like from the state. I mean, no taxpayer money. And, so when I told you that one event was a big a deal, this to me is everything I'm about. And, it was pretty cool. I'm a big Iowa State fan, and I have a decent sized Iowa State community that I call home and family. Right. Mm-hmm. And they showed up in a force and supported it. Like it was crazy. And, and it's not that Iowa State fans are more charitable than Arizona, fans. It just happens to be, that was our group that night, and they were. And then because of my allegiance to Iowa State, there was tons of Iowa State stuff on the auction. Right?
Oh, I can imagine, huh?
Yeah, from you'd like this. I mean, even not being an Iowa State fan, I mean, I had an engraved firearm that was done up in Iowa State colors, and I mean, it's cooler than a Dickens, and tickets and perks from the coaches and the athletic director and all kinds of things. So it was just, and then my in-laws, my brother-in-law he'll take wood like out of old corn cribs and things that have been dismantled, and he makes unbelievable tables out of them. And we sold a table for $7,500. And
I saw that table.
My buddy Trevor from Idaho, who we do a big cow sale for every year in Dunlap, donated a bear hunt, and brings $7,500. And but then I sold a gal, and I kind of think I make decent ice cream, and I make homemade ice cream. I stole my mom's recipe to make it, but I mean, I think it's pretty good. And I sold a gallon of homemade ice cream that brought 5,000. So it was just a really fun night. And for somebody who's, I was brought up to be charitable. I've tried to live a charitable, lifestyle. We've been fortunate enough in life financially that we can be a part of that today. Even when we were younger, when we couldn't, I still tried to be really charitable with my time. And, a lot of times people say things are thankless, and I just don't agree with that. I think there's all kinds of thanks all the time. You just got to look for it once in a while. And boy, there was a lot of thanks out of this event, a pile.
Well, and certainly knowing your mother and your father, you guys inherited that trait, and I'm sure they're proud. They're really proud of the fact that you guys are continuing on with the legacy.
I wouldn't do it, so they're proud of me. But if I didn't do it, they'd be mad at me.
And that's a good take on it. Your mom, especially, huh?
Yeah, they would expect that. They would be really, really happy about the community foundation thing because, mom and dad they lived in the next towns. Dad was in Earling, mom was in a little town of Westphalia, but they moved to Dunlap. They started their business here. I talked to you about it before. The local bank, back when my dad started here, was the reason why he started here. And it's the reason we call a place home. And so the community has been awfully good to us. Like all other times, you darn sure need to make the bed where you sleep. And a community's been really good to us, really good.
Well, and certainly you've been really good back to it. I know that. And well, that leads us into, conversation. We're going to go to an honor that was bestowed upon you last week. And that is being inducted into the Livestock Marketing Hall of Fame, which took place in conjunction with the King of the Ring Auctioneer Contest in there in Kansas. And man, looked like you guys had a good time, and just want to congratulate you on that, being an inductee. And then also your father was an inductee, and at the same time. And wow, what an honor that must have been. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how that played out. The winners, they sure do. They're a lot like the Schabens. They do everything kind of in a high class level, huh?
That's a really neat family, and it's a big time, family business, and spouses and all the things that go with it, and then their market managers who are family, all the way across. That so yeah, they do. So being a part of it, just in that sense, I'm a little, if I have a something that I'm disappointed in myself. So they've had this King of the Ring now for 6 or 7 years, and in the auction thing has been really good to me, and specifically the auction contests in relationship to the friends I have. You and I don't know each other if it's not for a auction contest, right?
Amen. Amen.
And some of the great times that you and I've had together would have been up at the tarmac in Calgary, Canada, right? At auctioneer contest. Two of my dearest friends in life, Jay Romine and Brian Little, they competed for a number of years in that contest, and I never got down there to see them. It was always the first week in August, and that's our customer appreciation weekend. And I never got there. Well, they changed their weekend, and they went ahead a week. So all of a sudden I could go. And so I was really excited about, going. My partner, Will Epperly, won it a few years ago. I wasn't there when he won. And Brian and Jay always told me about, what a great experience it was. Okay. And all those things. And they obviously complimented the Winter family every time they were doing that. But it is, Jay Romine was one of the judges at this year's contest. So he actually, he introduced me at the Hall of Fame ceremony that you were alluding to.
Yep.
The winners have started a cattle marketing Hall of Fame that coincides with their King of the Ring contest. Paul, that Ralph Wade commented, he said he was proud and humbled, I think were the two words he used. And
proud and honored.
Proud and honored. That's yes, that's where I borrowed his words to how I entered. I don't know what else you're supposed to say. You're proud, you're honored.
Amen.
Wouldn't tell you I feel worthy. And I don't know that I necessarily think that I know that I don't feel any differently about my father, that my dad's more worthy than anybody else. There's people that do so good a job in this industry all over the United States, so yeah, it's nice to be recognized by your peers. That's one of the great things. And I sure as heck wasn't going to turn it down. You know what I mean? I mean, what a great honor, but in the same sense, the worthiness of it. Now, I start mentioning LMA past presidents, like Jim Sonamaso and Tom Fry, and people that I've looked up to for their leadership in that, in our organization, right? In the backbone of it. And then, I'm not remotely from California, but with contests, I've been to California several times in my life. Right. you're not in the state of California that you don't mention livestock marketing, the Ellington Peaks name doesn't get mentioned, right? And
Amen.
and so you talk about at least somebody that I look up to in the livestock marketing industry greatly, who's been in there, and um um and and uh and Jack Hunter from Crawford, who is a big personality and a big person in this industry, and I so enjoy their family, and he's in there, and so uh, I am now mentioned alongside of those people that I cannot have any more respect for. So that in itself is pretty cool to get to go in with Dad. Took it to a level that isn't describable for me. That was pretty neat, and I got to give Dad's induction ceremony, which was a big honor. So
Amen.
yeah, thankful to the Winter family, thankful for the event, the King of the Ring contest. You got 8 tremendous bid callers that were in that contest. They got to sell some crazy good cattle, and it was just, the whole thing was pretty neat to be a part of.
And I guess, John, to see, and that's probably not that big a difference for you, but for us out here on the West Coast, to see those load lots of cattle come in and go out the ring and bring the dollars that they brought, and the quality of the cattle. I mean, it's just, it was incredible how many cattle you guys sold there, what, in 6-7 hours?
Yeah, I think they had right at 8,000, and they and they're pretty good about but also you taught them big strings. They the contest is over, and they said they asked last year's champion Lynn Langbert to get up to sell, and they said we only have one customer left. And I thought, at first I thought, well, that's not really fair to Lynn, and then you find out that customer has 832 head yet,
Yeah.
and so no, it was cool. It was really, really cool. Um, uh, I, I didn't learn anything about myself. I just reconfirmed one thing, that I'm terrible at golf. There was a 9-hole scramble. I played with uh, uh, David Macedo
Oh boy.
and Joe Frazier, and I'm awful. And but other than that, it was just it was great. It was just really cool, really
I,
cool.
I I would have liked to have videoed that, you three playing together. That probably be worth some video highlights. Definitely,
I
huh?
will tell you that David tells a joke, not every hole, or excuse me, more than every hole.
was
I
gonna
was going to
say,
say every swing, but not every
yeah.
swing, but close to it. And a lot of them you could maybe retell with a slight, but he told a
Adjustment.
couple that are on such of the awful spectrum. Uh, so
Yeah.
he did, but and it was fun. And I don't, there's 2 classic cases, Paul, right? I get to see those guys if I'm lucky once or twice a year, if I'm lucky, know them, respect them, call them friends. And that's the cool thing about our industry. And
It is.
just like there were 3 Californians that were inducted into that Hall of Fame, and I had crossed all of their paths on several occasions. You know what I mean? I knew them, and I think that's a pretty cool thing about our industry. And 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 some of the past people that were in there, and you're talking. Then the final thing was, there was a gentleman that got inducted, and he's a member of the Winter family. And when John got up to give his speech, and he had brought the biggest, for those, I guess some of your listeners probably have heard him, John Campbell. He's
Oh
a
yeah.
big, colorful personality, and
Hmm.
um, and a good market. He runs a great market and everything else. But I thought this was really cool. So a friend of John's from Colorado who came is a customer of ours. We've sold lots of cattle for him.
Oh wow.
I'd never met the guy. My brother had,
Uh-huh.
and so I had a chance to go over and meet Randy, he's the first name, and meet him and his wife, I would have drove down there just for that. And then there's a feed yard in Kansas I've done business with for basically my whole adult life, Pokey Feeders, and we stopped there on the way down, and it's been several years since I've been at the feed yard, but and they just do as the feed yard business goes, they just do things the right way, and so it was fun to be there, and the whole trip was great. It was just really, really good.
And we haven't even talked about the contest yet. So Wade Leish, he put on another performance there, indicative of another championship. I don't know what's left from Wade to win in the livestock auctioneer contest.
Well, I asked Wade about that. They've asked me to do it, and David Macedo and I are basically the same age and everything else, and I gave him all the credit in the world for entering that contest, and he did a great job. He won the
Roger Emick Award,
the award that's voted on by the contestants, right? Correct. So that's pretty cool, yes, and everything else. Paul, when we were competing, I mean, I was loving it and doing all those kinds of things, and I have every bit as much desire about the marketing industry as I've ever had. I don't know about my ability, I don't know. It doesn't get probably doesn't get better as you get older, right? Or anything. But I don't know that I just have the will to compete anymore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You just, because they had Joe Frazier to ask me that. What about next year? You want to do it? And I said, Joe, I don't think so. I just, but so I had all admiration for those guys that do it. They just, Brian Kurlish, a great bid caller from Illinois, he was in it. And, you get, but Wade, Wade was Wade. I mean, Wade just did what Wade does, and Wade won it. But Justin Dodson, who has been away from it just a little bit, he did not enter this year. Actually, just I think he was nursing his voice back to health just a little bit. Okay, so he entered it, and I'm like, I totally expect him. And as I said to him, he'll just do the Justin Dodson thing, which is just be really good all the time he does it, right?
Yes.
And he's really good in it. I mean, and so was everybody else. And Michael Imbrogno has been in the contest a lot. He came out, and when he sold his first lot, I turned to the guy next to me who is in a avid auction contest, and I said, Michael's trying to tell everybody else he's going to win today. I mean, that's how I felt how he came out.
Oh, amen. So, yeah, he came strong.
And so it was just really good. And they're all to be commended. It's tough competition. I told Joe Frazier when he said, well, you want to compete next year? And I said, no, but I'd love to judge it. I said, and I mean, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool deal. And that's a pretty good set of bid callers that got there. And then, I told Wade, I mean, I don't care who you are. I mean, they hand you a check for $15,000. Now that's 15,000 now.
Amen. Yeah.
I mean, that ain't chump change.
Nope.
And the last time I was with Wade Leish, I took him to the Lions game in Detroit, and I politely told him that he's going to buy the tickets next time. So
yeah, for sure now, huh?
He got 15,000 reasons why I think he ought to buy the next time. So no,
and
really
here's about Wade. And I promise you, if Wade gets the opportunity, he'll gladly pay for it.
Oh, I know he will. Heck yes. Yeah, I just wanted to remind him of it, Paul. That's all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I'll make sure he listens to this.
Wade's worked hard. Wade's worked hard for it, and as they all have, and he's crafted himself a pretty nice position in the auctioneer life, I guess, and a good job. But that one that day, and I think everybody in the contest would agree, you could re-rack it, have different results. You could throw a dart and hit anybody and say, there's a great 2025 King of the Ring champion right there.
Amen. Hey, I'll tell you a little Wade story. Going back, I don't remember what year it was. It would have been probably like, I don't know, 20, maybe 12 or so. We were in Arcadia, Florida there for a qualifier. And Brian Little, Jay Romine, and we all got a car together from the airport, and we head over there, and we pulled up there in the hotel to get off, and Wade was standing outside there. And when we got out of that, we had an Escalade or something. When we got out of there, he acted like he had almost saw a ghost. and and he tells the story later on, because I remember the reaction on his face, right? He was just up and coming, and he said, "Man," he said, "when you guys got out of that SUV, I realized that I had absolutely zero business being here." and and that's, but then again too, kudos to Wade. He's done a lot of things, and rightfully and deservingly, he's been rewarded. And so, yeah, we're all pretty
Big
proud
time.
of him.
When you
Big time.
mention that story, Paul, that makes me think of just being the new guy on the block and everything else, and same kind of story but reversed. When we're at the contest, and the year I was lucky enough to win in Lexington, Kentucky, I had sold early in the day. Brian Little had sold early. We're sitting next to each other in the crowd, and Ronnie Kreis starts selling, and it's the first time we'd ever heard Ronnie, right? And Brian Little turned to me and he used a couple colorful languages.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't use the word he told me.
He says, there's another one I can't beat, he said, and I still laugh to this day. And of course, when you think you're, I don't care who you are, but when you've been at it for a while, and then every year these new ones keep coming, and they're so good, and they've honed their skills so well.
Amen.
I guarantee it, as somebody that has sure now put a lot of years in the thing, I have all the respect for how good those young men and women are, and and then how savvy they are when they get to one of those contests.
Yeah.
I mean, and two of them in the King of the Ring that are fairly new in this game with Barrett Simon and Jace Thompson.
Sure.
Two pretty young guys that haven't been at it, the contest portion of it, very long. Got two kids that have been around it, pretty good chance that Jace probably born at an auction, at one probably, right?
Yeah.
And but those are two kids that are sickeningly qualified, unbelievably skilled at their trait. And then you're like, oh my gosh, they're young, right?
They are.
Which then, if you're me, you say, wow, the auctioneer industry is in good shape right now.
Okay. Crazy.
Right?
Yeah. Well, just going, I hadn't been to a contest in 10 years until I went to Dunlap there, and just the way it's progressed since the last 10 years. And I'm sure you and I could come and do a whole podcast just on auctioneer and learning auctioneering. But more importantly, one thing, Barrett and Jace and those, they're talented. There's no doubt about that. But then the part you have to kind of commend them on, that they've also been a student. You know what I mean? They've paid attention, and they're working on it. And that's the part that I really admire about, those young guys, that they're making an effort to do it right and be right.
Yep.
And you're right.
Contest, Barrett won the Brian Little Award, right? He won that, and that's the people's choice. Okay.
Crowd's choice.
And so the crowd choice in that contest didn't make the top three. So that might give you a little indication of maybe how tough the contest was.
Oh yeah, it was. No, commendable. As we wrap up on that, one more time, want to commend the winners for putting that on, that King of the Ring, and certainly everybody that wants to listen to it, that we're talking about it now. You'll be able to find it on YouTube under Cattle USA or under the King of the Ring. John, we're going to finish up here. And this is the real reason that I wanted to have you on. I just want to go over your anniversary sale. Let's talk a little bit about that, what you're expecting, what's going to happen, and 75 years of marketing livestock in one location. That's pretty remarkable.
Well, Paul, thanks, and I appreciate you bringing it up. It is the summer has been active, right? And obviously, I don't think there's any doubt, and I'm talking about the grandstanding that comes with this event. It easily took a backseat to the world contest, right? And it did. Sure. And that's okay. That's okay. So we're going to have, it's our annual customer appreciation day. So in that sense, it's going to be the same as always. This Friday on August 1st, it's always been the first Friday in August. We'll kick off with a calf and yearling sale that starts at 10:30 in the morning. We all are also going to sell a nice a group of spring calving bred heifers. Start in the middle of February calving. There's 150 of them or whatever, but they will have a free beef barbecue all day. That night the fair kicks off. It's the first night of our fair here in Dunlap, so we're pretty proud of that fair and always want to tell people about it too. Paul, I wouldn't doubt we robbed a few cattle from the
anniversary sale.
No doubt. I know we did.
Yeah.
People that jumped ship a little early. The market was great. They liked the concept and everything else. It looks like we'll have 3,500 head, so it's going to be a nice sale. Our forecasts have come out. The weather looks tremendous. A year ago on this sale, it was blistering hot. So it'll make it just more fun and relaxing and everything else. The biggest bummer that we have is that the new world champion, and I knew when Dean won that would be an issue. You know, you just can't snap your fingers and travel. You know, when you're coming across the border, you just can't.
Sure.
And so we can't get him here for the contest or for our appreciation day. And that's because in 25 years, we've only had one that had a traveling conflict that couldn't get here. And then Dean, obviously as you and I both have Calgary history with Dean, you know, and everything else, and love him to death. I mean, we'll sure get along selling without him, but there'll be several world champions there anyways. Yeah. The crowd loves when the new champion comes. Sure. The fair loves it. You know, when his Canadian predecessor, Dan Skeels, won it, that still goes back to, there were some epic times that happened at the fair afterwards, and a couple, that I won't share, embarrassing moments for the newly crowned champion, and that he just can't help himself and provide, I guess. But so no, I'm bummed about Dean not getting here. But the contest itself, it'll be a nice affair. We're gonna have some really nice yearling steers and heifers, and there'll be a smidgen of new crop calves, really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to the weather, and 75 years is
it's remarkable.
Yeah, it's
really
is testament to the strength of livestock marketing, and thankfulness to my mom and dad for settling here, and then thanks to our community for, like I said earlier, just for being a great host to our business here in town, and so we're looking forward to it.
But certainly a business like yours, John, it has to be a symbiotic relationship between you and the county to have something like that exist for that long. It's just, you know, I mean, if you just think about what percentages of businesses in the United States stay, you know, intact and functioning for 75 years, I would bet that's probably, I don't know that number, but I bet it's a single digit number.
Yeah, it's and I've never really thought about it that way, but I appreciate you pointing it out. You know, and it's all we really know, you know what I mean? And you've just lived it your whole life. And we're lucky enough between Will and the rest of my family, you know, to be able to keep it and put it in good hands. It looks like to me. So, it'll be great, and looking forward to it. But I'll be looking forward to 76 in another year, right? So I hope,
and hopefully someday we talk about the 100th. Wouldn't that be pretty cool?
I would say that'd be pretty cool if you and I, maybe we'd be teleportation then, right?
Who knows what we'd
hit a button and we'd be next to each other. Yeah.
Who knows? But for
I've
sure,
had
Austin
people
in the
already
clan.
ask me, what I'm doing for my 70th birthday. And I said, well, the first thing I'm going to do is hope I'm there. And I said, and then after that, we'll take it from there. So, yeah.
Amen. Well, hey, Jon, I'm gonna let you go because I know you got way better things to do than just chit chat with me here. I appreciate you coming on. Again, I want to commend you. Wow, what a summer you've had. Listen, we've talked about your summer almost for 50 minutes, so that's
If
pretty
you'll
incredible.
give me 2 minutes to
Yeah.
be the narrator and you be the whatever I'm supposed to be.
Sure.
So tell me, how cool was it to be a judge at the WLAC?
Oh man, it was so cool. Well, first of all, I'm a big fan, of the LMA and the staff, Kathy and just Dominic and those guys. They're so blessed. And a lot of people have asked me in the past, if you really think about, we're talking about good businesses, but the LMA to secure and keep those kind of caliber of people, that really is, that's commendable to them. And that talks about the core about what happens with the LMA. That really is a family. And then, one thing that Tina, my wife is not from the agricultural industry, but for her to come to those events and see the importance that the LMA places on having young people and children there, families. And I mean, Jon, so, and then, uh, you've always heard all these rumors. Well, the LMA's looking for this or looking for that, as far as, what they want in a champion and this and that. I'm going to tell you in my briefing, that never came up. And they only said, you pick the person that you guys feel is the best and most qualified. Of course, I judged in the interview portion, but the person that articulates themselves the best and, and so forth. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for the person that does the best job. And so I'm more convinced of that now than ever. And I've had several people ask me that. And I'm like, listen, not one time did I feel like the LMA was trying to steer me one direction or another. I just wanted to know who I thought was the best. Yeah. And what an honor it was for them to have me come back and, after 10 years and judge that. I'll tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if they ever want me back, I'm like what she said, I'll be back for sure in the event that they want me back. So it was first class.
I want to jump in on that because I've served on that contest committee for numerous times, right? I've had 3 stints on it. I can say without reservation that there couldn't be anybody that enjoyed it any more than me. Okay. I'm sure there are people enjoy it as much. There can be anybody enjoy that whole process more than me.
Sure.
I take great offense to anybody that would ever insinuate that there's a master plan or there's conspiracy against this person or whatever, because that doesn't happen, period.
Yeah.
Now, I always hear about perceived bias. Okay. You cannot not have someone being biased. There's a certain auction style that I like better than others, right? Same for you. So you're always going to be biased to that. That's impossible. That's not being biased to the name. That's being biased to the style. You can't change that. So what you do is make sure that every year you change judges, right? So 1 year you're going to have a group that likes this style. I've always said your judges show up, right? The judges that if you could have picked, that's who you would have picked.
That's a good point.
They show up, that's the year you do really good. And if you put it all together, you win the contest. That's why I always say you have to be really lucky to win. Obviously, there's skill involved, but they're all skillful, right? They're all skillful. And so it just has to be what clicks that day or whatever. I'm really glad that you brought that up first, because I really get sick of listening to that stuff. I don't like it because it doesn't happen. And it's a complete slam in the face to those of you like yourself that judge independently, and you were picked because you have integrity, and we expect that out of you when you judge, and we know we'll get it. And then, like I said before, if you say that when Dean Edge won this year, there was some luck that came into that, great, because there is. It isn't that if it was 100% skill and never had anything about that, I mean, that's just not going to happen. And then, like I said, when you have that many people that skillful, you've got to have things. I mean, it could be just lucky that you drew the right drafts of cattle, or you happen to say the right thing, or whatever it might be. But I just thought it was pretty cool. They asked you. I knew you had a big old pride badge on you, you know, when you got to be a judge, because that's just like, and I think you've judged at Canada before, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple times.
It's pretty cool to get to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
I really say it's an honor, because you know that they feel like they value my opinion that much, you know, that they're willing to let me select one of their champions. And you know what else I was surprised too, John, that in both in the interview and I didn't judge the live sale, but in the interview, man, I was, you know, I had 9 out of the 10 guys that made it back. So that tells you there was a lot of cohesiveness there in us judges. You know, the judges, I mean, we were all on the same page, and certainly, so yeah, it was an honor.
And you know, those guys that sell, they practice, and if they want to win that contest, on that interview, they got to practice, and they got to practice, because you don't want it to be like some staged answer, but you want to practice on the skills that make that a better interview than the next person, because it can be the difference between winning and losing. That's for sure.
Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. You go and look at them score sheets, and it is the difference a lot of times, because some of those guys are so, like you say, you know, there's 15 or 20 guys there that can just, I mean, breathe fire in their chant, you know, but they need to be able to interview, because they are going to be a spokesperson, you know, and here's the other thing, the LMAs, and that's not a surprise. They don't like surprise people. This has been going on for a long time. If you want to be a champion, you better be able to interview well, and sell your rear end off, and then get the buckle.
The year I was lucky enough to get around to a few markets after I'd won, I'm in Canada, and that's when the infamous BSE cow showed up, right? And they closed the border. Okay, they had me go up to Canada and sell. Okay, so first of all, half the people want to shoot me from because I'm from America, and then Blair Vold stops the sale for 30 minutes and has a question and answer session with me about the border closure. Now, I really think Blair liked me, but if he didn't, then that was a good way to show it. And I'm like, holy smokes. I can tell you that I've never been more apprehensive about anything I've done in my life than to sit up in front of them and have to field questions about the border. And so I'm lucky enough that I can get through most things verbally, right? And but boy, that day I was really glad I could. I mean, that was not. I mean, he didn't ask me. It wasn't planned. It was nothing. It was, hey.
It was impromptu, huh?
It was their, they saw their livelihood going away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a deal. But so yeah, the ability. I can tell you, they're all good bid callers, and all of them are getting better at interviewing. And,
amen.
And
boy,
it's
that interview,
and so, well, congratulations on being that. Yep. I loved your comments. And then as a friend, it was great that gave you a simple way to get up here and see us.
Amen. Yep, it was. And I know we're going to see you pretty soon here when Iowa State comes to Tucson. we got a place for you guys to sleep, stay, lay your head down, and we'll be semi-friendly to you guys.
It's pretty much a given. If they don't have me doing a sale that day, I'll be there, right?
Amen. So, amen. All right, John, I'm gonna let you go.
My very best to those sweet women in your family, and thank you. Thanks for everything.
Amen. Okay, John. Have a good sale. We've been talking with Jon Schaben from Dunlap Livestock here today. And John's anniversary sale is going to be on Friday, and you guys can tune in there and find him on the internet. And we wish you all the luck. All right, John. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Western Ag Life Podcast, this is Paul Ramirez. Don't forget, if it's Western, it's probably us.